Okay, here's a hot take that you might find upsetting, depending on your musical taste and things that you like, and how deep of a fan into 80s music you are, right? In the last video, we were talking about The Clash and Joe Strummer. And there's a lot of documentaries out there that have been made about Joe Strummer and The Clash and Joe Strummer's life in The Clash, right? And you don't need to know all this information to hear this out because it's going to be real quick and real brief. The fact of the matter is that Joe Strummer had this kind of social awareness and social justice kind of aspect to himself politically before it was popular for, musicians and rock stars to be like that. And that was kind of what made The Clash and all of their early music so good. And there was other bands like Paul Weller with The Jam, that was also writing, politically inspired material. U2's early stuff was the same way. And a lot of the people who came out of that school of thought that realized something is rotten in our leaders and we need to sing about it were not wrong. And then as soon as these guys all got success, the people around them, the other rock stars and pop stars and musicians and people that normally would have been friends, right? Because people travel in groups, like-minded people always group up together. And why not be friends with that band over there or that band over there? You guys are all doing the same thing and you might even go on tour together. A lot of the people in the music industry at the time were very unsupportive of Joe Strummer. And they literally called the guy naive to his face. And they said that his political ideas were childish and that he didn't know what he was talking about. This is the guy who wrote like political anthems that are still political anthems to this day that people are playing on the radio with the volume turned up. Okay? So let's put that on the table right off the bat. And I'm going to hit pause here just in case. Okay, and away we go. And so the second thing is then you get a lot of these people that are out here, like I said in the other video, oh, I loved Joe Strummer, and oh, I loved the Police, and oh, the Police were, my favorite band as a kid, and that's why we got into music. And it occurred to me after I made that video, right? I was talking about Bono again, and I try not to talk about that guy because, it's like he's lived a life where, he's been in the public eye and he's faced a lot of public challenges. And the one thing I've noticed is they've done pretty well dealing with public challenges, but they haven't done well with constructive criticism, right? That's the one thing. Of course, there are probably many things, but that's the one balanced thing that I've noticed across the board, that when you read reviews and you read books and you hear people talk about them constructively and criticize them, they don't like that. I found that really strange. And, go do your homework. Please go help yourself, right? So, I don't really want to talk about those guys anymore just because, like, one, it's a really kind of undeveloped mindset to, that you can't hear the constructive stuff about yourself. You're just too fragile to hear it. That's a problem. That's really a problem. And then, right, you have people in your circle that aren't doing well. And, you apparently look up to them, but you were not there for them. That bothers me a lot. So that made me reflect on a story that I heard the other day. Conan O'Brien was talking on Sirius XM, and he was talking about the moment where he lost out on his show and Jay Leno took it back, and he was at home and he was having like this meltdown, this like crisis, this break, because he had gone through some ups and downs already, but he thought this was over. So he's laying on the floor of his house and he doesn't know what to do. He thinks his career is over in film and television. Granted, the guy's had a great run. And his phone rings. And you know who called him when he was in this existential moment of career crisis, this existential point of despair? It wasn't even someone that he ran with. It wasn't someone in his immediate circle. It was someone who knew about, what things feel like and how things go when you're going through pain. It was Robin Williams. Robin Williams called him, and Conan O'Brien even said he didn't really have that deep of a relationship with him. He had interviewed him, he loved him, but he had never really hung out and been buddy-buddy with him. But he called him knowing that he was going through a hard time. And he said that pulled him out of his moment. And, so I'm telling you these stories because sometimes, I reflect in my mind, like, there was probably many times when Joe Strummer was down in the gutter and he's probably falling out of some pub on, like, Carnaby Street or Notting Hill or somewhere, and he's throwing up, and maybe he bumped into one of these other pop stars, these other people that he hangs out with or rubs shoulders with, and they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, hey Joe, nice to see you. I gotta go." And I wonder how many people were actually there for Joe Strummer when he was having a hard time. Yeah. See, these are the things I think about. And I really, when people like, it, it's different when you're a popular celebrity. I get it because your whole life is on trial. Your whole life is under the microscope. I get it. But you know what? Like consistency and treating people with kindness, that's what I have a hard time with. People who have a hard time treating people with kindness, because if you do it once or twice, it easily becomes a habit. But if you easily, are not there for people because you're only there for yourself, hmm, yeah, that's something completely different, isn't it? And I think we all know that. And then, you add in this other layer of who do they bash? Who do all these celebrities, you know, bash or make funny remarks about or give odd looks about, right? Of all people, Sting. Here's a guy. Here's a guy who, he just gets up in the morning and plays Bach chorales on his guitar in the hallway with his buddy Dominic, and hangs out with his wife Trudy and his kids, and has 8-year orgasms and writes, goofball bios about, that are like something out of the like Celestine prophecy, But I don't see him like bad mouthing at other celebrities. I don't see him like, probably not being there for other people. I imagine that guy checks in on his people quite a bit. Why? Because all of the musicians that play with him speak very highly of him. Ever listen to any of the interviews of the people that played with Sting? Bro, it's like, it's not that the dude pays the bill, it's that he's a good person to these people around him, and people notice it. But these other celebrities that play this like high school popularity contest of, oh, I like this person, or I don't like his attitude or his disposition or his demeanor. Get out of here with that, right? Me, I love challenging people. I don't like shallow, fake people. If you're a challenging, difficult person, I will take you over someone who's fake any day of the week. Rant over. Hope you've listened to this in its entirety. Maybe it's beneficial and you get something out of it. And then you'll know that the next time you got to deal with a challenging human being, that's a benefit for you. And that, that is something that will make you grow. That is something that will make you realize who you really are. Okay? All the best. Be well. Thanks for listening.